Barry O'Farrell was fielding questions even before he made it into the room. Speaking at a property council lunch, there was just one issue on everyone's mind.
But all we want to know is a decision on the railway line.
But those searching for the answer were left a little disappointed.
The last thing you need is for a Sydney-based politician to make that decision.
Instead, the opposition leader pledged to redirect the millions of dollars the Labor Party's pledged to Tilligra Dam into a Hunter Infrastructure and Investment Fund.
A concrete fund that has $350 million in it that can be determined as to how to be spent by locals in Newcastle and the Hunter.
Under that umbrella, a local board would determine the fate of the rail line and other big-ticket items. Mr O'Farrell denies that would further delay the decision-making process.
That'll be a decision for the board, and that's a decision that I'm sure the board will embrace and make a decision on.
It's already been in local hands. The HDC report is out there, it's been tabled, it needs to be accepted. The locals have already spoken.
One of the men contesting the seat of Newcastle as an independent, Lord Mayor John Tate, supports the idea of giving more control to the community.
If the dollars are made available, we manage those locally, we can set the priorities.
Liberal national candidates for Hunter seats will be finalised within the next month. Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
Practice is that the general practices offer because it will provide opportunities for health professionals, budding health professionals, to work with practitioners in a local health practice and assist their education and hopefully retain their skills in the local community.
Same club and logo, just a whole different outlook. 10,000 free tickets to the Jets' home game against the Heart, and that's just the beginning.
Without question, this is the most exciting period I've ever had in my life of 30 years in sports marketing. No other club in Australia has ever done this. It is just a very special moment.
And if you don't get a free ticket, there's still good news. General admission tickets will cost $10 for the rest of the year, down from $19. There'll be free season passes for every fan under the age of 15 and $100 family season passes. The club says existing season ticket holders will also be rewarded. Another announcement is expected next week.
We do very much recognise that these people were supporting the club when it was going through its tough times, and they certainly won't be forgotten now.
It's all about making it affordable and building support.
Our strategy isn't to make our money from ticketing. Our strategy is to build those relationships, and the corporate sector will come along with us.
The Hunter Medical Research Institute is another winner. It's set to feature on the playing strip. Every Jets away goal will earn it $2,500 and double that for every successful strike at home.
Look how 900 researchers out there, I'm sure, will turn up to every game and say, for every goal that you kick, that's more money for medical research.
Next on the club's list is strengthen ties with the region's grassroots.
We're committed to writing a strategic plan for football for the region that hasn't been in place before. Again, we'll get the strategy right, then we'll roll out the plan and the resources.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
Summer's approaching fast, but what could be one of our greatest coastal attractions is still off limits, locked up behind a fence. We were told 4 months ago that Nobby's Headland would be reopened, hopefully before the weather warms up. There is a good reason for the delay though. The state government doesn't own the land yet.
At the moment it is owned by the Port Corporation, but they have to agree with the LPMA on the actual footprint that will be handed over to Crown Land.
So all it can do at the moment is appoint a project manager to oversee dealings between the Port Corp and the Land and Property Management Authority.
We hope to go to a community trust, so advertise for community members to sit over top of this great site in Newcastle early in the new year.
Early 2011 appears to be the likely opening date of the landmark.
I would certainly hope that we'll have it open in the beginning of next year. So I would certainly hope that we will be able to capture that visitor market to Newcastle early in the new year.
Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
You feel a bit nervous going into that first exam, so it's really nice to get that one ticked off, and I feel like I can relax a bit more going into the other ones.
Halfway through English, and it's going to be very helpful for the next lot, having already done half.
Mega savings at the click of a mouse. That's what website Kudo claims to offer subscribers.
People want bargains. People want to find new places they've never been to, potentially never heard of, and Kudo brings that insight to them.
It's about to launch in Newcastle, and its CEO was in town today getting local businesses on board.
We think it's a great market. There's a lot of disposable income up here. There's a lot of great businesses too. It's a very much an advanced, sophisticated eating culture, so we think this is a great market for Kudo.
The site works by offering subscribers discounts on various products and selling vouchers to restaurants, beauty salons and hotels in bulk. Buying online has become big business. According to eBay-owned company PayPal, Australians spent $24 billion on online purchases last year, and that's expected to blow out to nearly $34 billion by 2012. Members of the Newcastle business sector have embraced the website.
We're always competing with different forms of marketing and advertising these days. This is something new to Newcastle. I really think it's worth a go.
Well, I think it offers a great bargain for people who've never been in before, maybe to get them in the door.
Madeline Bond, NBN News.
Newcastle's Energy Australia Stadium has been transformed from sports ground to supercross track, and for Chad Reid, it's not a moment too soon.
I've been coming here for a long time. I used to come here with my pop a couple of times, and he was always a big footy fan, so it's good to see the nice green grass going and see some dirty dirt in here.
Although he hasn't committed to racing the entire Super X Series, he was never going to miss this round, but it's been a battle. Reid was recently floored by illness and also forced to find a new bike. Tomorrow night will be his first race in 5 months. But if rivals think that means he's vulnerable, they've got another thing coming.
I don't know if they're that silly to think that. I wouldn't put myself on the line if I wasn't confident that I could come out and at least challenge for the lead.
Australian champion Jay Marmont is one of those hoping to dethrone the king.
He's going to be obviously the main guy out there, and he's the one that everyone's targeting. So for me and everyone else, I think the pressure's on him, as it always is.
For Craig Anderson, it's like old times, with a rare chance to race his cousin on home turf.
It's always great to ride in hometown. You know, you sleep in your own bed, rock up to the track, you know everything, you know everyone, and it's a good feeling, especially if you do good.
There's a stack of internationals planning to have a big say too, including Justin Brayton.
The track's awesome. We just got done riding it a little bit. It's going to be a little bit hard, but if the weather holds out, I think it'll be awesome.
But in Chad's backyard, he hopes to have the final word.
As long as you're having fun, I seem to always turn the throttle, pretty fast.
New officers, additional staff and a range of fresh ideas. Good news was thick on the ground at Jets HQ today, but there's more pressing business at hand. Sitting ninth on the ladder, the Jets face their first game in 3 weeks tomorrow night in Brisbane against the second-placed Roar.
Believe in ourselves and believe in the type of football we are playing, because, if we continue to do that, it will turn around.
Despite a 21-day layoff between games, injury still played a big part in selecting the squad that travelled north today. But the Jets do have Kiwi international Jeremy Brockie back, and he could provide some thrust up front.
We've got the best defence in the competition. We're proud of that. I'm not so proud about the fact that we're not scoring as many goals, but we're working on it.
Impressed with all he's seen since the club was taken on by Nathan Tinkler, Tarek Elrich reckons players are keen to make their own good impression.
The club's doing everything right off the pitch, and it's up to us boys to prove it on the pitch, and with a few wins under our belt, there's no excuses for the people in Newcastle to come out and watch us.
Although injured, Captain Michael Bridges knows just what sort of opportunity his teammates now have.
Now we're playing for our futures, to be part of this setup and to be part of this team, and it's going to be interesting to see how many of the boys react and to be part of this for the future.
It's horse racing's holy grail. For many trainers and punters, getting this close to the Melbourne Cup is a dream.
It's one of the best days that I've been involved with for a long time, and the community support has just been fantastic.
A community with a long affiliation with the Cup. 4 winners have come from Upper Hunter studs in the race's 150-year history.
It does involve the Cup, the race itself, but there's the lead-up, there's the jockeys, there's the trainers, and we have it all here in Scone.
In the last 8 years, the Melbourne Cup has travelled over 200,000 kilometres to 200 destinations across Australia. But today it was Scone's chance to marvel at the 18-carat gold People's Cup before it moves to Wingham tomorrow and then to Port Macquarie.
The Melbourne Cup is the race that stops a nation. Has it stopped Scone today?
It certainly has, and I really applaud the Upper Hunter Shire for embracing this celebration the way they have, because they are an integral part of the Melbourne Cup.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It could have been any Sunday at St Joseph's Convent, the nuns mingling with parishioners in the chapel's courtyard. But there was an undercurrent of excitement.
As you know, Mother Mary of the Cross, with Father Julian Tennyson Woods, founded our congregation. So it's a very special, joyful celebration for us in particular.
The historic occasion an inspiration for the congregation.
I think it's wonderful. It's just to know that it's been a recognition of all that hard work that Mary has done.
They're receiving regular updates from Rome, thanks to 12 members of the order who have travelled to witness the canonisation ceremony.
We've been getting emails and text messages from them, very excited, telling us about all the events, very busy, falling into bed exhausted every night.
And as the minutes count down to the confirmation of Australia's first saint, there's no question where the rest of the sisters will be.
We'll be all gathered around the television, of course, and watching it live from Rome.
They weren't the only Hunter Catholics marking the day. Students, parents and teachers from St Paul's Rutherford held a special service in honour of Mary MacKillop at Walker Waterworks. Christy Pritchard-Owens, NBN News.
It looked very daggy, to use a colloquial word. The stuff on the windows was all falling off, the paint was dilapidated, there was water coming through the roof.
He's Hunter born and bred, and Chad Reid has never been shy about his desire to bring a round of the Super X to Newcastle. Last night, more than 12,000 fans responded. A qualifying race against his cousin Craig Anderson simply added to the appeal. In the first of the night's two finals, Dan Reardon grabbed the whole shot and an early lead. But the former world champion didn't take long to make his move. Waiting patiently in third, Reid timed his run perfectly on lap 5, an over and under move enough to slot into second. On lap 6, a momentary lapse in concentration from Reardon saw the reigning national champion back in his familiar position. From there, it was simply a formality as Reid ruled round 1. A bizarre start to the second final saw Anderson claim the whole shot by millimetres before Mike Alessi picked up an unwanted passenger. Reid wasted no time asserting his authority, claiming the lead on the first lap. Having endured the toughest year of his impressive career due to illness and relatively poor performances, the 28-year-old proved there's no place like home, saluting the crowd and answering his critics.
From what I read and what I hear, I guess I'm done in this sport, but tonight I felt pretty damn good. So, I think we got a few years left in me. I got a lot of things in the US in the works.
The new-look Jets hit the park with a fresh sense of optimism, but a distinct lack of match practice. Two of the youngest players in Newcastle's defence would prove invaluable. Making his debut, Taylor Regan was called upon to save his side on several occasions. Against the run of play, the Jets mounted their first meaningful attack before Raw defender Matt Smith put the visitors in front. He couldn't find the back of the net, but Sean Rooney did finish with a memorable battle scar and several stitches. The half finished as it began, with Regan and Kennedy keeping the Raw at bay. The Jets needed a spark and Ruben Zadkovic tried to light the fire. Not to be outdone, Kennedy continued to add to his highlight reel as Brisbane edged closer. Germany's Thomas Broich attempted the theatrical to earn a penalty, but it was a Brazilian who found a way through. Marko Jesic had the chance to be a hero at the death, but the goal-scoring troubles continued. The Jets now have a 10-day break before facing the Fury in Newcastle.
The 13-year-old girl was inside this shopping centre just after 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon when police alleged 25-year-old Peter Kevin Smith raped her at knife point. He's also accused of slitting her throat before fleeing the scene. The girl was discovered shortly after and taken to John Hunter Children's Hospital for emergency surgery. Around 6 hours earlier, police also allege Smith attacked a mother in the underground car park of Maitland Leagues Club while she was trying to strap her baby into a pram. Police say he threatened her with a weapon and attempted to steal her car, and after it failed to start, stole her handbag. He's also been charged with using her stolen bank cards at ATMs to try and withdraw money. Smith was arrested at Talara train station just after midnight. Today he faced Maitland Local Court on 7 charges, the most serious of which was causing grievous bodily harm with intent to murder and the aggravated sexual assault of a person aged under 14. Peter Smith appeared before the court only briefly. He made no application for bail and his case was adjourned to Newcastle Local Court, where he'll appear via video link in December. Madeline Bond, NBN News. The theme was Walk in Their Shoes, and last night business people and other community members did just that, sleeping rough next to Broadmeadows PCYC. They raised $22,000 in the process, as well as awareness and compassion for those who live on the streets.
People were sleeping on cardboard and, really feeling what it's like to be homeless, and it was scary. It was dark and we were exposed.
Daybreak brought another event at the PCYC. The Connect Day linked homeless people and those at risk to an array of vital services, from free clothing and food to free bicycles. Support organisations, charities and health experts rallied together.
Hunter New England Health have been amazing, and they've got free podiatrists, so foot checks, immunisations, flu shots, general kind of health information.
Getting a trim or a style can be a rare treat for many homeless people.
Well, I've only done about 4, but I'm sure there's many more to come.
By the end of the day, hundreds of haircuts were carried out by Hunter TAFE students who had travelled from as far as Muswellbrook to volunteer their services.
It's been nice. It makes you realise, how lucky you are.
The event helped around 1,500 needy people, including dozens of children. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
It's been a vital part of the service actually. The difference that they've made is that they've got that critical care on the side of the road or in the field or wherever.
Suze Mahillis is a thoroughly modern businesswoman, a computer the tool of her trade.
Absolutely every day, Sundays, Monday, it doesn't matter.
She runs a promotions company from her Newcastle home, facilitating competitions for major clients Australia-wide. Mobile broadband technology is essential to her work.
Most of my clients are national and are based in Sydney or Melbourne. So not only do I have to travel there constantly to see my clients, but also I'm able to be wherever I like with the technology, working from home, working from an office, working on the train.
Suze is part of a growing national trend towards mobile, flexible workplaces.
It just allows me to work wherever, whenever, and never let the client down.
And increasingly we're finding that a lot of employees are out on the road servicing their customers, and employers are looking for tools for them to be able to use to be able to stay in contact with their offices and effectively stay connected to their network.
Telstra research shows a quarter of working Australians now spend 5 or more hours a week operating outside the traditional workplace. It's trying to cater for the growing market, launching a new world-speed mobile broadband service for the Hunter region.
It really puts them on the same footing as what you would find in Melbourne and Sydney, the same type of speeds and the same opportunities available to business and consumers in those areas.
The ultimate modem is being rolled out across the country.
A proud captain, Ben Kantarowski, led his side into the final, already knowing they've qualified for the Under-20s World Cup. But given no male Australian team has won an Asian championship, there was still plenty to play for. His side got the perfect start too, scoring the opening goal. North Korea answered before the Aussies took the lead again. With scores levelled again, Jong Il-guan found his third in the final minute of regular time to seal Australia's fate. Kantarowski returns home tomorrow with enough time to prepare for the Jets' next game on October 27, but Ruben Zadkovic may be in danger of missing that one with a hamstring problem. Sean Rooney should be okay despite suffering a cut to his knee in the weekend draw with Brisbane. Meanwhile, Newcastle juniors Abe Wilhouse and Luke Remington will soon leave with the Australian Joey's side to contest the Asian Championships in Uzbekistan. Relief and joy seem to be the two biggest emotions that have run through Ben Harradine since he won Commonwealth Games gold. Rest is now high on the agenda, but he's been happily kept busy reliving the moment with family since arriving home.
I was, holding back the old tears, trying to keep the old strong persona, mate. I don't want the throwers looking too weak. It was a special moment standing on the podium, just, like a weight just fell off my shoulders.
And it also provided much needed self-belief. In consistently strong form all year, Ben's throws in Delhi would have placed him in the top 4 at the World Championships. and there's only improvement left in the Elibana boy before London 2012.
Lifting those levels are the hardest thing, and if you can go into these big meets having a good average like that, you never know what you can produce with a little bit of crowd buzz and a bit of a good atmosphere.
Local athletes may get to cheer him on at the Hunter Track Classic early next year, the venue where his career really took off.
I'm here, I'll definitely be coming up for it, and I'd like to do a little bit more training in Newcastle this year. I think, I just enjoy it up here, and I enjoy training with my dad's squad and giving back to the kids.
His immediate plans, though, remain simple.
I'm just looking forward to doing absolutely nothing, just being a slob for a while.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
The remains of an old railway link now lay exposed to the elements after someone, somehow, made off with a 6.5 metre long timber and steel bridge. The motive behind the outlandish theft has Lake Macquarie authorities scratching their heads.
So it's been stolen. I don't know what use they would put it to, but obviously somebody had a better use for it than completing the Fernley track.
Making the crime even more bizarre, the sheer size of the thieves' target. It's estimated to have weighed up to a whopping 4 tonnes and was surrounded by mosquito-infested wetlands.
Well, you can see by the width of the former bridge work here that how expansive it is, and it's designed to take vehicles and tractors and the like.
Whoever stole the bridge must have really wanted that timber. Dismantling it would have taken hours, required several trips to and from the Belmont entrance of the Fernley track, and been a messy, dirty and backbreaking job. The crime was apparently well planned. The bridge was put in place on Friday the 8th of October and was gone when construction crews returned on the Monday. Luckily, the theft won't delay the track section's completion date, with the pathway still predicted to open early next year. Madeline Bond, NBN News.
It's a hotel partnership that spans a quarter of a century.
Dad and Mum built the place 25 years ago, but they actually bought the place from Kerry Packer's Consolidated Press.
And now the Marina Resort is in the news again. The Chans have approval for this, but they want to go higher. Nelson Bay's second oldest hotel could grow from 5 stories to 10.
It's basically a new resort. It's got conference facilities, restaurant, health centre, a international cooking and hospitality school.
There's nothing small about this $50 million plan, whose fate will eventually be taken out of council's hands.
Big development, and that's why part of the reason the Joint Regional Planning Panel is the consent authority.
This is the test, I guess. It'll depend on people's views at this stage, how people react.
The community is already divided.
We don't want to become a second Gold Coast.
The town's dying, and they need this urgently because it'll give us employment for young people.
We're a quiet seaside town, not meant to have big commercial developments.
But many developers have equally high hopes. An 11-storey, $101 million redevelopment of Salamander Shores Resort is also on the agenda. Nat Wallace, NBN News.
This is what rock and roll dreams are made of. Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis and Carl Perkins jamming together for the first and only time.
Sam Phillips, who was the owner of the recording studio, Sun Studios, basically turned on the tape machine and recorded it. And if you listen to it, it sounds very much like that. It's just a real rough rock and roll jam session.
The legendary tale is being told in the Ultimate Rock and Roll Jam Session, a production showing at the Civic Theatre next month.
We actually narrate the story and try and tell what happened on that day and give a little bit of a feel about what was going on in music at that point in time.
The show stars James Blundell, Dave Larkin, Nick Barker and Newcastle's Ezra Lee, who was discovered in a Tamworth pub.
I'm just doing this now full time. It's great, a fantastic break. I can't think of enough.
Come April, the 24-year-old will be doing it for real, crooning alongside Jerry Lee Lewis in Las Vegas. Meanwhile, this weekend's Fat as Butter Festival is sold out, with promoters also dispelling rumours Ice Cube has pulled out. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
He's the world's biggest football star, the most popular modern-day player and the richest. The last time David Beckham came to Australia, he sent hearts racing and gave us the kind of goal only he can deliver. Now there's a push to get him back for another exhibition match, this time in Newcastle. It'd be a dream for football followers and, of course, his female fans, who might be more familiar with what he does off the field.
What about you? What do you think of David Beckham?
I think he's good looking, and as a model he stands out, but as a soccer player for ladies he doesn't really cut it.
Doesn't matter what sport he plays?
No, could do anything. Yeah. Doesn't matter to me. He's pretty hot, but nothing else really. He plays soccer, but that's not it.
Newcastle is the only Australian city in the running to nab Becks and his LA Galaxy team for a friendly tour match, but there is some competition from overseas.
But we have some strong things going for us. Sydney, Newcastle, New South Wales, the climate. David Beckham has been to New South Wales before and is keen to come back, so that all helps.
There's no doubt David Beckham is a marketer's dream. His famous number 23 strip is the highest selling sporting jersey in the world. Wonder if this is my size. If the lad from London does venture down under, it'd either be sometime before the end of the year or a mystery date in 2011.
I'm quietly confident, but in these sorts of negotiations you never know until it's actually signed off.
We'll just have to keep our fingers crossed. Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
A morning phone call from head coach Branko Kalina delivered the news Mark Jones had been expecting, but that didn't make it any easier to hear.
I've gone from thinking I'm going to be the head coach for 2 years to not being involved, so that is disappointing.
It follows the recent change in ownership with new management backing Kalina for another 4 years in the top job. He's now charged with recruiting his own staff, something he was unable to do previously.
We want to move ahead with everyone on the same page. We just couldn't quite get there with Mark and Branko not having exactly the same philosophy on the direction that we wanted to take. Branko is our head coach and we're backing Branko.
We've decided to move forward. We needed to make some tough calls, and Mark's been a great servant of this club over a number of years, but the time is right for him to move on.
Jones appreciates the forced coaching partnership wasn't always rosy.
And obviously, I have my opinions on how things should be done, and I'll never be a yes man. I'll always give my opinions on what I think can be done better.
But he concedes the head coach should have the right to pick his own staff, given the buck stops with him.
We've got to have people who are going to be accountable and responsible. It starts with me. I'm at the top.
Still to name a replacement, Kalina is reviewing all the football staff. Jones, meanwhile, is looking to his own future but says he'll always have an eye on the head job at the Jets.
I'd love to come back on better circumstances and coach the club, because I still believe that I can do a better job, and obviously Branko disagrees with that, but I'd love to have the opportunity to coach a team from where I live and where I've grown up.
Jim Callanan, NBN News. After decades of training and striving for success, Matt Gray now has a Commonwealth Games gold medal to show for all the hard work.
To finally get a Commonwealth gold, it certainly makes it all worthwhile, and it's going to sit pretty proudly on the wall.
But there's nothing like family to bring you back to earth.
When I got home, I showed my two daughters the medal, and within about 5 minutes they were over it. They said, "All right, come on, let's go and play outside." So I'm back to reality now.
It was alongside his Australian teammates in Delhi that Gray achieved his greatest sporting success to date, and it's a moment he'll never forget. Originally thinking it may be his last major event, the 37-year-old now wants to capitalise on his career-best form and aim for London 2012.
I have been performing, really well this year, and it's not through more training or, equipment or anything like that. I think it's just, more experience. I've just been able to train smarter.
Not that his training is anything elaborate, just effective. And between juggling that, his work as a water policeman and his family, he feels an Olympic finale remains in reach.
The future is exciting, but whether or not I can be part of it, it's just a matter of time.
The birthplace of football in Australia will host the sport's biggest star. In a coup many thought was impossible, David Beckham will return down under and will make a beeline for the Hunter.
If you're not excited about the arrival of the LA Galaxy, Beckham, Donovan, then there's something wrong with you.
It's a great boost for football here in Australia. It's a great boost for football in Newcastle, and it's certainly a big boost for our very own Newcastle Jets.
Our US-bred Premier was only too happy to make the announcement this morning that Becks and his LA Galaxy team will play a one-off friendly against the Jets on November 27, just like they did against Sydney back in 2007.
The government's investment in this event, this LA Galaxy Newcastle Jets match, will be repaid many times over by the economic activity that it will generate.
And for a team that was on the brink of football oblivion just a few weeks ago, it couldn't have come at a better time. It was in fact Football Federation Australia who approached the Jets about hosting the big match as a vote of confidence in the new ownership under mining magnate Nathan Tinkler.
It's one of those opportunities where we're in the right place and the right time.
Newcastle will undoubtedly welcome David Beckham with open arms, with 48,000 registered football players across northern New South Wales, and not to mention countless thousand fans. But where to fit them all? With the stadium currently under construction, there's only room for 23,000 spectators.
Sometimes you just got to take things when they happen. Gifts sometimes come from funny places at funny times, and you've got to be prepared to take the punt and back yourself.
We're promised Becks and his teammates will be staying in Newcastle for 4 days. Now there's a new question on everyone's lips. Is Victoria coming? The former Spice Girl is due to make an appearance at the Melbourne Cup just weeks earlier. It's unclear if she'll stick around. Kate Mitchell, NBN News.
Back in 2006, the ALP executive dumped Newcastle MP Bryce Gaudry and parachuted in Jodie McKay. This time around, local ALP members hope to have a say, despite the MP holding 4 portfolios. Traditionally, ministers avoid pre-selection.
All ministers are going up for their pre-selection. I've asked the party office to ensure that we have as much rank and file participation as possible.
But the ALP head office today said it's still a case-by-case decision, and Jodie McKay admits she wouldn't have the numbers at a local branch pre-selection. Last week, NBN News revealed she was considering standing as an independent. When we asked the Premier her response to any such move today, her temper flared.
You know what I think? I think women should be allowed to speak for themselves, and I think you should show her the respect and ask her the question directly.
Well, I have.
Only once I asked you to.
No, Premier. In fact, we asked Ms McKay a week ago and she didn't rule it out.
I will make a decision, obviously, in the next couple of weeks, and that will be based on what I can deliver for this city.
Today's response before the Premier was somewhat different.
I can categorically rule that out.
As for the results of the rail interchange scoping study, which were due in March, then July...
Well, it's under consideration. The Minister will be bringing something to Cabinet.
How soon?
When he's ready to do so.
Meanwhile, Newcastle businessman Tim Owen says he's made no commitment to stand as the Liberal candidate for Newcastle, despite sources revealing he's being courted by the party. He's a former RAF Air Commodore and was the Deputy Commander of Australian forces in Iraq and Afghanistan. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
We've had a lot of phone calls today. It's been fantastic, and hopefully some of the offers that we've had will come to fruition and we might have some good news tomorrow.
Well, I think we never give up because there's always new ways and there's always new methods and new technical equipment as well. So we'll be trying to introduce some of those. CCTV is very important to us.
Ricky Davidson has turned her 6-hectare home into a sanctuary of sorts for native wildlife. 2 years ago, she signed up for the Land for Wildlife program, which helped her do it.
When I moved to Cooranbong, I was keen to have more wildlife around, being so close to the Watergans and the forest, and also to be able to provide more cover for wildlife.
The voluntary initiative put her in touch with various experts who assessed the property, compiled species lists and offered advice on what to plant to help attract and feed native animals.
It's enabled me to really do things beyond what I would have been able to do with my own resources.
She now shares her home with dozens of feathered and furry friends, including at least 30 wallabies. Lake Macquarie Council is now trying to encourage more people with at least half a hectare of native bush on their property to join the program.
There's a wide range of endangered species, both of flora and fauna in the city, and some of those important habitats are on private land, and we're really seeking help from our landholders to make sure they're still around.
Madeline Bond, NBN News.
The confirmed sighting was that there was some sharks feeding on a lot of the bait fish out there, so we had to go out and investigate and follow through our protocol.
The $20,000 donated by Woolworths is to help our secretariat, to give us computers and office equipment to help run OzHarvest. We've been going since February now, and we've fed 70,000 people.
Christmas Eve 2006, and NBN News captured this dramatic footage on the north coast.
Attempting to cross the bar at Woolai, their boat capsized. There were nervous moments when all 5 divers were thrown into the water, but fortunately it was another lucky escape in the space of a few hours.
That's because 2 of those on board had been earlier separated from their own boat and had drifted for 4 hours before being plucked from the water by a passing merchant ship. Water police had then transferred them to the dive boat before the mishap on the notorious bar. Fast forward 4 years, and miraculously these photos of that fateful day have literally resurfaced.
Everything they had on board ended up in the drink, and that included the dive camera. Now, 4 years later, this camera has just washed up on Woolai Beach, about 3 kilometres to the north of where it was actually lost.
The images were printed after a local fisherman took the underwater camera to a photo shop.
Plugged the camera into, it was a digital camera, plugged the camera into a computer, downloaded what was on there, and 130 odd photographs later, you've got all the photographs that these guys had taken while they were diving, plus the photos they took of the rescue as it was going on.
While it was an ordeal for the divers all those years ago,
I was pretty scared. I knew it was pretty serious when the boat wasn't around. Of course, I knew it was a strong current and we were drifting.
it seems their luck has finally returned. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
She's only been studying electrotechnology at TAFE since February, but Rebecca Atchison has already done what many would spend a lifetime trying to emulate. Rebecca successfully built an underwater robot from scratch after just 3 days of work experience at Newcastle company Advanced Technology Systems.
I was thinking, oh my gosh, can I do it? But I'm very determined.
What resulted was a prototype that even impressed those with years of experience.
They liked it so much that they wanted to keep it there and they can use it for their own research.
The proper version will be a lot bigger and will be used to monitor underwater structures and undertake surveillance operations. And while Rebecca eventually wants to pursue a career in the field, some now think that could come sooner rather than later.
The thing that Rebecca needs to be careful of is that she doesn't just take the first job that's presented, because it may end up blocking pathways that she doesn't even know exist yet.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
It's only been a month since the Jets got a new lease on life, but Football Federation Australia is clearly impressed. The club's executive chairman, Ken Edwards, today revealed the FFA actually approached Newcastle about hosting David Beckham's LA Galaxy, ahead of other A-League clubs.
We have a desire to do things differently. We have the capacity to do things differently and do them well, and we're doing it.
But there's no sour grapes. Brisbane and the Central Coast have agreed to alter their A-League schedules to ensure the game goes ahead.
So we've been able to move a Wednesday night fixture and swap a game over and create the free space on a Saturday, and in particular move the Mariners out of this region on that night.
Beckham's contract guarantees he'll play at least 55 minutes. The same can't be said for Jets captain Michael Bridges. The striker played against the former Manchester United star while at Leeds and Sunderland in the late 90s. He'll miss the November 27 clash as he recovers from knee surgery, but still wants the spoils.
Last night when we got the go-ahead, and the boys saying, like, can we get your shirt, can we do this, can we do that? I said, there's a queue, boys, you better wait, because I'm going to be the first one asking.
But what about tickets? The club says they'll be affordable for families and will go on sale in a staged manner after the running of the Melbourne Cup in early November. Existing season ticket holders and members will get the first option.
We fully expect the stadium will be sold out within a couple of days on going sale to the general public.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
They've been racing for 3 generations, but now the Cloughs have an Australian champion.
Finally this year we've done it.
The national 80cc gold might be around Mitchell's neck, but it was very much a family effort.
Yeah, we all go along racing together, try and go do it as a family thing.
I ran into the chook pen when they got the little bike out, and that was the last and first ride I had. They wouldn't let me on it again.
It's also been a bumpy ride for this 10-year-old.
Broke my arm on a 50, going down the back straight at Curry. Fractured my wrist at Central Coast on a power slide, and I broke my collarbone.
He's so small, hopping onto the bike is hardly easy, but his determination and need for speed comes as no surprise to some.
I had him on Mother's Day in the back seat of the car. We didn't make it to the hospital. We had to tie the cord with a shoelace till the ambulance got there, and then we went to hospital. So he's always been in a hurry to be here.
Now he's racing to the top, and this kid from the Curry Club has already picked a path.
To grow up to be like Casey Stone or Jason Crump.
And what path would you preferring to head down?
The speedway's a lot cheaper. Let's see how we go.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
Right on what is now here as well. Sold!